Yo, what's up? Over the last month, Enlisted changed a lot, and for many people this means the game became much less fun to play. I also noticed the same effect myself, mostly due to extremely imbalanced games, very bad matchmaking, and also very boring and one-sided games. So, I took up the challenge to find the most fun way to play Enlisted, and I found it, and it's, as you can see here, playing BR2. Basically playing low BR, because low BR actually gives you the most realistic, most interesting, most unique, heterogenic, not redundant games the whole game offers. And the best thing is, it's also the most historically accurate way to experience World War II and enjoy the battles, because unlike on high BR, where things are constantly get blown up and you constantly die way too quickly, and you have only max power versus max power, which actually rarely in real life occurred, here you have a depiction of the common soldier, and all the classes are playable. Because it's not only about playing max power versus max power, you can actually, thanks to the lower power level overall, use the strengths of every single squad. And this is what I consider right now the most fun way to play Enlisted. So, in order to give you a good primer for that, I'm going to show you my builds for every single nation. Low BR builds for every single nation. These builds show army compositions that are simultaneously the most fun to play, but also the strongest versions. So you don't lose anything. And the best thing is, these are builds made with 7 squads, but I'm also going to tell you how to build them with only 4 squads available for all the pure, not polluted by Gaijin free-to-play players. We're going to depict the nations in order of popularity, and the most popular nation in Enlisted is the Germans, so we're going to start with them. Also, for this nation, I'm going to tell you all of the general observations regarding low BR, so I don't have to repeat them for the rest of the nations. Most important thing on low BR is that due to the overall lower battle rating, it's not about specific weapons, it's not about specific vehicles especially. There's no thing in low BR that can completely dominate a game. Once again, on high BR, a King Tiger H instantly dominates a game. An unsolved P-47 instantly dominates a game. In low BR, there's nothing like that. You actually have very nice, interesting strategic gameplay. You don't have a constant sweat fest that's completely brain dead. So every single squad offers its strengths, and if you just flesh out the squads nicely, you can use these strengths, and you do not need to be afraid to be overpowered by some sweat lord with some bullshit. Although I'm possibly the biggest grenade launcher fan in the world, I was objectively very happy after 10 minutes of sadness that the grenade launchers were banned, because they literally were a cancer on low BR. Not having them on low BR made the game much better. Also, they made the riflemen more generic, which is also very nicely historically accurate, because yeah, riflemen literally were generic. And it makes sense that you have squads that are forced to be generic. Also, the rifleman squad itself now literally feels more like a real life squad. Like this 9-man squad is almost exactly what you would expect from a real German 10-man squad. It's the closest that you can get, actually. If I put in an assaulter with an SMG, it would literally basically be one-on-one the same that you would get in real life. So yeah, these squads, these low power level distributions are a blessing. Alright, so let's start by looking at what's actually the strongest, so you can see if is there something that we can exclude and which squads are the best left overall. This mechanical approach makes it easy and quick to understand what works and what's not, so you don't have to waste time trying out everything yourself. So in general, on low BR, vehicles are good, because if your ground forces don't have too much firepower and the games are slower overall, having enough time with your planes to bomb the ground is actually very good. Also, bombs are relatively stronger than rifles. A bomb isn't necessarily better than a full auto SMG, but if there's mostly weaker machine guns and weaker SMGs, bombs are really good. So planes are quite good, especially since they are harder to kill on low BR, at least on theory. And also they can kill tanks, which are also quite strong on low BR. Well, tanks are always strong, but overall I would say tanks on mid BR are the weakest, because there you have medium strong tanks, but basically all of the strongest anti-tank weapons. On high BR, it depends on the nation. The Germans obviously have the strongest tank in the game, which is also historically accurately reasonable. So they have an advantage, but other nations not necessarily, so it depends on the nation. On low BR, this is the best thing. On low BR, every nation I found literally has very nation-specific strengths and weaknesses when it comes to vehicles. And this is amazing because it's not a copy-paste for every single army. It literally depends on which army. I think I have literally a different plane and tank composition in every single nation. Yeah, this is very unique. This is something you rarely see. This is also a strong indicator of a healthy game situation, at least in this tiny context. Because if every nation just brain deadly would copy-paste one tank and one plane, it would be boring. So yeah. Okay, taking a look at the Germans, you absolutely want to have a tank. Also, you are forced by the game rules themselves to have a vehicle. If you're free to play, the general question is obviously, are you going to play a tank or a plane? If you're not good with planes, obviously you're going to take a tank. And if you can play both, it becomes a question of what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? If you want to always be able to take something, tanks are good because they're usually open. For planes, fighter planes are more often open than attacker planes. So yeah, if you only have one squad, just take a fighter plane. This makes it more likely for you to be able to actually play your vehicle. But if you have the choice, for example, by getting premium account, you're automatically going to have 2 vehicle slots. And for the Germans, you can pick multiple good tanks. This is the 3rd tank I actually tried. And here's the situation. Overall, if you want to have a easy to play tank, just play a Panzer III. These Panzer IIIs are, well, I played a Panzer IIIN. There are some similar tanks, but I think this is the Stalingrad version. The normal version doesn't have the side skirts. This tank has the advantage of having a cannon with really good high explosives. You can identify that by the fact that it has a huge caliber. Huge caliber usually means huge explosion effect. And huge explosion effect means many infantry soldiers are going to die. If it was a smaller caliber, obviously less soldiers would die. Now, the disadvantage of a short cannon is that you're going to have less penetration in general. So this tank is great against infantry, but not that good against enemy tanks. Though, due to the large caliber, it still will pack enough punch. You don't need that much penetration on low BRs. So the overall best tank for Germans is that. Also the armor is really good on the front and the sides are also really respectable. And the ridiculously fast reload makes this tank just very easy to play because you can afford to miss shots. Yeah, so this is the overall best tank. Now the second best tank I would say is the Puma, also the one I'm trying out currently. Because the Puma, well, not even being a real tank though. It also isn't called a tank by the German definition, since it doesn't have tracks. It literally has 8 wheels. This thing is ridiculously fast, also has quite a good reload speed, and I'm playing it mostly for the really reliable cannon, because this long cannon easily penetrates basically everything you fight against. I haven't seen a single enemy tank I couldn't penetrate at a weak spot in the front. And 1 to 2 shots usually completely take out the enemies. And the high explosion filling is also quite good. Also, you're very fast. It's possibly the fastest vehicle in the whole game. You're actually so fast that you're constantly gonna drive against something. So yeah, if you want to have maximum ability to outplay your enemies, this Puma is this is my next best pick. And if you want to have something fancy special, this is a good thing, because this Panzer IIIJ offers some medium strength against infantry, but offers some really good penetration against tanks. Possibly even more reliable than the Puma, not necessarily so, but unlike the Puma, it has also the good Panzer III armor. So if you want to shred infantry, just play the Panzer IIIN. If you want to shred tanks, play this. And if you want to be able to outplay your enemies and just really think about how you use tanks, this is the best vehicle for the Germans overall. Besides the tanks, we also have good planes for the Germans, and here we have some ridiculously good ones, and there's a huge exception, because we don't even need to look at battle rating 2 to get the best German plane, we can look at battle rating 1. Now, this Romanian AAR 81C is literally possibly too strong for low BR, because it gives you all you want on a plane. It's actually fast enough for low BR. It has heavy bombs, 250 kilogram bombs, so you can blow up every single tank in the game. There's not a single tank that can survive a bomb like that next to it. Even King Tigers die from that. It has 2 little bombs to just spread out more damage on the ground against infantry. And very important, it has 2 autocannons that shred every single plane in the air easily by touching it for half of a second. And it can shred most ground vehicles and even infantry very reliably. And you have enough ammunition too. 175 bullets for every cannon is really, really, really good. So this gives you all you want in a plane. Absolutely everything you want, and there's not a single downside. The bombs are amazing, the weaponry is amazing, and the flying properties are also amazing. This is by far the best plane overall. If you want to just completely dominate the ground and punish everything on the ground, well, you got a bunch of Stukas you can choose from. This Stuka has the overall, this is just a mixed combination of properties. This Stuka, well, is battle rating 3 due to the completely unfair amount of 3 heavy bombs. And this Stuka, yes, it's basically an upgraded version of the B2, because this one only has light machine guns. This one has autocannons too, also quite a lot of autocannons. I would play this over the Romanian plane, mostly thanks to the insane amount of autocannon ammunition. Also thanks to the fact that you have a tail machine gun and it can do a little bit of work. But the problem is, it's extremely slow. Yeah, it's extremely slow, though it will be more fun because you can just create more damage. Also, you have 4 little bombs instead of 2. So if you feel safe in the air, this is the best pick. It just dominates everything on the ground. It blows up everything. Also, you get the maximum flavor points for playing a Stuka. Also, it looks very beautiful too. Just look at this beauty. Yes, absolutely nice. In-game it even looks a bit darker. And you even have the sirens that make a cool sound. Though they give away that you're approaching. But yeah, so this is the second best pick. So these are the vehicles. Now comes the main part, the infantry. So here's the deal. If you already have access to APCs, the general rule is always play them in your army. They are by far the most important and most impactful and therefore strongest squad in the game now. Because they are being mobile rally points. They give you the chance to flank very quickly in the beginning of a game. Even if the game is already going on, be it the first point or one of the middle points, you can always spawn and surprise an enemy. You can in theory also just get a very fast engineer and just run around the map, but it doesn't work as well as this, yeah? Also, teammates can always spawn and you can already carry them together. So you're not only carrying 1 squad, you're carrying 2 squads, yeah? I will make a video in the future praising the strengths and all the advantages and how to use the squad, but yeah, just the general rule is, for those who haven't figured out yet, always play APCs. Always play APCs. The only stupidity in the game is the fact that APCs come very late. APCs, if Darkflow was smart, would be the first unlock for every new player. But because this ain't the case, you're gonna have to grind like half of your life until you unlock them. And I'm fighting for the fact that it's gonna be changed. Because, yeah, this is literally worse. So I feel very bad for new players who will take forever to get this. And it's also not, the problem is the unlocks in between also, yeah, they suck. Especially this useless, obnoxious thing. But yeah, if you already have them, always play them in every single army. This is a must-have squad. Absolutely must-have squad for every army. Everything else is quite relative, it's quite optional, but this is a must-have. So always have them, and not only is your win rate gonna skyrocket, but the fun you're gonna have is gonna skyrocket. Because they make the game much more comfortable. You have to waste less time thinking and running around and rushing. You can always spawn with them. always call an artillery strike, and just get into the action. So they're a must-have, absolutely amazing. And now comes the actual brain teaser, which infantry squads are you going to play. Here there's a general rule. On low BR, machine gun squads are king. Literally every nation wants a low BR machine gun squad. Here's the reason. Even though some nations have very questionable machine guns on low BR, the fact that your machine gunner squad can build an HMG makes the squad automatically the strongest squad on low BR, because the HMG is the strongest ground weapon there is. HMGs on low BR can kill half of the tanks from the front. They're literally so strong, and you can kill literally every tank in low BR shooting from the side. So they are the anti-tank squads aren't even needed on low BR, because your HMGs, your heavy machine guns that you're going to build, are literally dealing with every tank in the game. And they're dealing with all the infantry in the game, and they're better than all the weapons in the low BR. So yes, this alone is amazing. Secondly, you can have a perfect squad. Perfect squad usually means you can get an engineer and a radio man, so you can pick it in every situation and you're going to profit. And the fact that bots are the strongest with machine guns in the game, you're going to have a squad that you don't even need to put in much effort while playing. You can just build stuff or snipe or hunt enemy tanks, and in the meantime your bots with the machine guns are going to get some kills. So if you don't like the machine guns that your nation gives you on low BR, you don't even need to play the machine gunners yourself. For example, I like playing these German machine gunners because in-game this machine gun feels very nice, the handling is nice, it shoots well. But for example, the Soviet machine gun I don't really like that much, and American machine guns I absolutely despise. So yeah, I don't even touch them myself. I just let my bots play them. By the way, that's the reason why it should be this, because if you start the game with an engineer and you switch to your next soldier, if it's a machine gunner, well, you have to use them yourself. But if it's a radio man, you don't even have to use the machine gun yourself. Also, for those who don't know, put the soldiers you want to use first, obviously first, and the ones you don't want to use last. And you don't want to play radio man because you want them just to survive, so you can call radio strikes, artillery strikes, but you don't want to risk them dying. Yeah. Also, anti-tank gunners also usually one of the last soldiers you want to use, because you want to have them as something you can pick while you see an enemy, but as long as you don't see an enemy, you just want them to stay in the background and survive. So machine gunners for the German army, also for the other armies, are basically a must pick, because they give you the strongest power overall and also the biggest flexibility, and also possibly the biggest fun, because you can do all the things that you can imagine with an infantry squad for them. And now comes the question, what's the second best squad? Because there's a huge drop-off when it comes to what you want to play on low BR after the machine gunner squad. And if you're on free-to-play accounts, since you only have 3 infantry squads and one of them will be an APC, the next squad is going to be your final squad. So you want to make sure that this squad is absolutely worth it. And here you want to search for the best weapons overall. And usually this means, do I have really good SMGs to choose from? Because if the machine guns are good, they're usually the strongest hand weapon in low BR. And the next strongest weapon usually is also a full auto weapon, SMG. And some nations don't really have good SMGs on low BR, others do. So what do we have as Germans? Well, this is a trick question, because many may already have heard that the MP40 got down-tiered from BR3 to BR2. This doesn't mean that it's not in technology tier 3 anymore. No, it's still there, because this order doesn't change. But if you click on the weapon, you see, alright, battle rating 2. So this is a thing many people get confused about. Also, when you search for weapons to put into your armies, don't just look at the tier 2 stuff. Also click some weapons ahead, because you may find, oh, this is BR2, or this is BR3, but this is BR2. Yeah, so always look at the next whole tier, because you may find some goodies. Yeah, you may find some goodies for BR2 play in tier 3 technology. And the MP40 is a basic no-brainer inclusion. It's amazingly good. It's one of the most, possibly the most popular weapon of the World War II, and it's just really good. Yeah, it's really good. It has very good sights. The fire rate is a bit slow, but the damage is higher than most SMGs. The recoil is almost non-existent, especially with recoil reduction. So yeah, this is amazing. Now, keep in mind, I recommend using the trick to dual-wield SMGs with different magazine sizes. Because if you have the same magazine size, you usually get a penalty. You don't get additional mags from the second weapon, but if you get 2 different SMGs with 2 different magazine sizes, you keep all of the weapon intrinsic ammunition. So here you get a huge amount of ammunition. You get basically 300 bullets, and you have a weapon that's, if you look at the numbers, this weapon is overall the stronger one because it's faster. This one is slower but has more ammunition. So usually what you do is during a fight you just spray your first 32 bullets, and then you quickly switch to this weapon, you spray your next 40 bullets. And this way you can easily kill 1 or 2 squads in a row without dying due to having to reload for 2 seconds. So yeah, SMG soldiers, assaulters, also medics if you want, but not the medic squad itself, only the class. Absolutely good for the Germans, absolutely good. Also our APC driver gets the same treatment, MP40 and FNAP. Now if you want to keep it historically accurate, otherwise obviously you won't play the FNAP most likely, but you absolutely want to play the MP40. Also, big bonus points for historically accurate weapon distributions because, well, Germans played mostly, or used mostly in real life MP40s and K98Ks. And guess what? These are also very viable, very good weapons for low BR Germans. So yeah, SMG squad, not only really good thanks to the MP40, also very fun to play. Most people love to rush in and just spray their enemies with their full auto weapons, and also the easiest to play squad. So if you're a new player and you want to grind quickly, the assaulters won't disappoint you. On the contrary, they're gonna make you very happy. And also another general rule of how to build squads: on low BR, you want to always have an anti-tank gunner in your squads. Because if you have good anti-tank weapons, which the Germans aren't that happily blessed with, but they are okay. They're okay. Also, they don't have a specific single best weapon, so I just play a mix of them. You will be very happy. You'll be able to blow up all the enemy tanks. But even if you don't have a too good weapon, if your weapon is passable enough, even if it's medium enough, as long as you can aim with it, you're still gonna blow up all the enemy tanks because they're low BR tanks. They don't have much armament. Yeah, so this is one of the best things about low BR. You actually can just hunt your enemy tanks with your normal soldiers in your squads. You're not relying on having to bomb them or having to blow them up with stronger tanks. The next squad I recommend is the Engineer Squad. Now, if you're not sure about what to play, after putting in machine gunners, or if you don't like them, even at first spot, Engineer Squads are very good in low BR. Because unlike on high BR, where the engineer structures aren't that strong anymore, planes are usually too fast for anti-air guns, tanks are usually too strong for your anti-tank guns, and machine gun nests aren't not even better than the average SMGs that your enemies are going to play. In low BR, Engineer Squads absolutely rule, because your anti-tank guns are going to be literally the strongest cannon on the battlefield. There's basically not a single tank in low BR that has better firepower than the anti-tank guns from the engineers, especially against gray zone tanks, which are very far away hiding. An anti-tank gun from an anti-tank gunner squad or an engineer squad is going to be your only hope, and they easily one-shot these tanks. Also, due to thanks to the slow planes that we've seen, since on low BR you have to choose: do you want to have a fast plane, or do you want to have a slow plane with more firepower? And the fast planes won't be that dangerous usual, but the slow planes will be, and you can easily kill them with your anti-air guns. So yeah, engineer squads are very much useful. Also, if you unlock the engineer 2 squads, which is ironic, since you also have to be quite deep into the progression tree, you can also build machine gun nests with them. And these machine gun nests are also very strong. Obviously not as strong as heavy machine gun nests, but still, normal machine gun nests are still better than all the normal weapons that your enemies that you self also are gonna have. Also keep in mind, there are some tricks to get access to stronger weapons than your BR allows. For example, the Puma has an MG42. very, very fast fire rate and maximum precision due to zero recoil. So yes, this is how you get access to an MG42 on low BR. The Panzer IIIs only have MG34s. Not as strong, definitely not as strong. You feel the difference in fire rate. If you fire at an enemy on distance, at infantry, yeah, you spray at him with your beam, but the bullets are so slow he can actually run through the beam without getting shot. This isn't possible against an MG42. It is gonna die, yeah? And same thing goes for your machine gun, for your engineer squads and machine gunner squads. The machine gun nets they're building are absolutely strong. So yeah, engineer squads absolutely worth it. Also, they're also a perfect squad. They get access to engineers, well, obvious, and also to a radio man. And I recommend to have 2 radio men in your army. You literally don't need more, but 1 more is very comfy because you don't really have to think about which squad to pick. If you only have, for example, 1 radio man squad, you always have to think in the back of your head about your 4-minute cooldown. And I notice most people just literally don't think about it because it's annoying. Well, I train myself to subconsciously consider it, and you get a feeling from after a while. By the way, bad game design from Gaijin, because guess what? The game could just give you a 4-minute timer in the screen, yeah, where you can literally see it, but the game doesn't, which is annoying. So yes, having access to 1 more radio man, very nice. And yeah, I mean, since you can't get 2 strong specialists anyway, the radio man perfectly fits. And you can either play 5 engineers and these 2, or even without the anti-tank gunner. But for fun reasons, I'm just gonna play the anti-tank gunner in addition to that. And the last squad, and here we start scraping the bottom of the barrel, because there isn't any squad anymore that's actually dominating due to power level. And in that case, I just slap in the Rifleman Squad. Now, Rifleman Squad offers a bunch of advantages. First of all, Gaijin gets rich, because you're gonna have to pay infinite amounts of silver to equip all of these dudes. And the advantage that you get out of it is you get a 9-man big booty squad that can hold points well. No, this isn't a joke, this is literally a big advantage. If the enemies are bum rushing the point, guess what? Just put 9 soldiers on the point. And there won't be any fast rushing, fast capping. You literally have 9 dudes. And these 9 dudes can also fight for themselves, because you're gonna be 1 soldier and you're gonna have 8 bots. Yeah, guess what? If you equip them well, if you perk them up well, especially with the perks that make bots very strong, I started transitioning to an army that maximizes my bot power. I don't even care about how good I am with the soldiers, I just make my bots stronger, so they do more the work themselves. Your Rifleman squad's gonna be very effective. So if you feel like, oh no, I'm too lazy to do stuff now, or you just think, alright, the enemies are too sweaty for me, they're annoying, I'm just gonna give them the Rifleman squad treatment, yes, just whip out your Rifleman squad and do whatever you want, and your bots are gonna do all the work. So it is amazing. So these Rifleman squads are very comfy to play and can save your ass in tight situations, especially not only on defense, by the way, also on offense. If you're, let's say you're on the last objective or on any objective and you're down to 12 tickets, so you can only spawn 1 more last squad. Rifleman squads with 9 soldiers are almost always the best decision to do, because they are usually the only squads that can save you. And by the way, if you're playing with real good teammates, smart teammates, or if you're playing in a stack, it's literally the best thing you can do if you're tight on lives, to tell everyone to only pick Rifleman squads, so you get as many soldiers online as possible, so you can still capture points. So yeah, Rifleman squad's really cool. Also, I like them, they're quite fun. And the Germans offer the cool combination of, well, what do they offer regarding weapons? We're gonna quickly go over that before we jump to the next nation. Regarding the most basic rifle the Germans have, it's quite simple. The strongest weapon they had used to be the VG-15, though that was up-tiered reasonably, since it was just absolutely overpowered. But what's the best weapon now? Here's the deal. You want a bolt action rifle that's hopefully very fast, because all bolt actions deal almost the same damage, which is enough damage. There are some bolt actions that have a disadvantage of actually lacking damage on 200 meters, and depending on the campaign and depending on your play style and how good you're at aiming, if you want to engage enemies on long distances and you have trust in your aim, it's actually a disadvantage. If your bolt action doesn't really kill on 200 meters, for example, let's take a look at this. Yes, on 200 meters, vitality soldiers won't even die, or soldiers that you only hit in the leg or in the arm. Yeah, so I'd rather have a higher number right here. But this doesn't matter that much. What actually matters the most is the fire rate. And here the clear king for the Germans is the Mannlicher, because the Mannlicher comes with a very pleasant fire rate. Yeah, if you compare it with the K98K, the equipped version, by the way, this is the most standard weapon of the German army, also one of the most beautiful, best looking weapons ever, and the reload sound is purely orgasmic. If you maximize it with all the upgrades, you're going to get a fire rate of 62. The Mannlicher starts already with a higher fire rate of 66 and it goes up to 76. This may sound only like a little bit, but you literally feel it. You feel it in the fire rate. This thing shoots as fast as you can actually aim, and if you're getting rushed by a whole enemy squad, you can actually deal with the whole squad. Also look at the damage. More than enough damage to 200 meters. The K98K is too slow in that regard. Yeah, but is there a reason to still play this despite except for flavor? Yes, this gives you a bayonet, so you can bayonet charge if you don't have access on your soldiers, or you can do some really cool melee fighting by just rushing into an enemy, charging into one, and then shooting one. What I usually do when I see 3 enemy soldiers or more and I got only a bolt action, I just sneakily approach the enemy, so I get the first shot without being seen, and then I instantly rush in with the bayonet, and after stabbing the second soldier, I'm just gonna shoot the third one. And since I meleeed in between, the timer already reset for the bolt action, I can get my next shot. So this is a sequence that you can use to kill 3 soldiers in 2 seconds with a bolt action. And you can only do this if you have a bayonet. If you don't have a bayonet, you would have to switch between weapons and then it doesn't work obviously. So yeah, bayonet's very good. Also bayonet's giving you the biggest reach in the game of 2 meters distance and one hit killing all the enemies. Yeah, absolutely worth it. And if you have some very fancy special weapons, obviously you can also put them on. For example, I collected these event Gewehr war mods, wartime mods, and I just put them as a secondary weapon for all of these riflemen. Many people are confused now how to play riflemen since they can't use grenade launchers on low BR. Now the trick is, you can either give them grenade pouches, which turns them basically into grenadiers, and you can grenade spam. This is how most people do it. If you like playing this way, this would be the strongest way to actually play them. And in that case, you just take your first rifleman, spam your 3 grenades, switch to your next, spam your 3 grenades, switch to your next, and so on. Now, for those who think this is too boring, I also think this is too boring to play that way. I just give them two weapons, and 2 different weapons means the AI is gonna always use the weapon that's best for the AI to kill. And this also means that you just let the AI shoot the one weapon, and then you always start with the other weapon yourself, so you always have a full magazine, and there's no conflict in between, which makes the gameplay very comfy, also very nice. So to sum it up, for free-to-play players who only have 4 squads available, my recommendation is to play 1 tank, and then an APC, a machine gunner squad, and an assaulter squad. If you don't have access yet to APCs, if you're very new, just play an engineer squad instead. It won't be too much different, and you, depending on your playstyle, will have a bit of more work to do since you can't just drive around, but you're gonna have more firepower instead. Let's go over to the second most popular nation in Enlisted, the Americans. Now these American troops may look exactly like the German army I'm playing, but the strengths and weaknesses are different. So the way you play this army differs quite much from the German army. And we start with the tank because this is the biggest difference. Unlike the German tanks, where you can get a really good overall tank, like the Panzer IIIN, or you can get quite a cool fancy specialized tank like the Puma, the Americans feature some tanks that are very specialized. There's no overall all-rounded tank. You actually can pick multiple tanks depending on the role you want. Also, fun fact, unlike the German starter tank, the American starter tank is actually very useful. Because what is better, one 20mm cannon or two heavy machine guns that can also shoot down planes? Well, this thing is much better. This thing is also better than every single anti-air gun in the game. So this is really useful, and once again, on low BR, you're actually gonna get kills when you see an enemy plane. So this is useful and good. And you also have things like the M8 Scott that brings a 75mm howitzer, which kills every group of enemies that you're gonna see. Infantry is gonna get completely melted. And it's quite fast, actually it's very fast, and it has enough armor to not be shredded by enemy heavy machine guns from the front. And it even has a heavy machine gun itself. So yeah, it's open top, it's quite weak, it's very easily killed by a Molotov or by enemy planes strafing, but the offensive power is insane. But there's another hidden gem that the Americans have, and it's the Crusader. Well, I think it's a British tank though. Yes, it looks like a British tank, but this thing is, yeah, it is a British tank. This thing not only looks amazing, it is amazing, and you can actually do some nice role playing because it has multiple advantages that other tanks just don't really have or rarely have, and not in the combination that this one thing brings. First of all, you get a 6-pounder, so 3 kilograms around, roughly, shells. Now these shells are insanely strong against infantry. Insanely strong. There's every single group of infantry is gonna die once you hit an enemy soldier with that. And you have a really good machine gun, well you have a normal machine gun, but it's very reliable next to the cannon, so you can aim very easily and quickly with it. The barrel itself is long, giving you some good penetration. There's not a single tank that can survive 2 to 3 shots from the front, and shooting tanks from the side just completely blow up tanks. So yeah, against tanks this is amazing, as also against infantry. But here comes the best part. You may not see it from here, but you will see it if you compare to another tank. Look at this. Look how high this tank goes. Yeah, this tank basically starts at this point and ends almost here. Now if you go to a Crusader, this tank basically is almost half as high because it starts here and ends here. The area that the enemy can hit, especially enemy tanks can shoot at, is ridiculously low. And whenever you drive around in the area and the environment, you're gonna constantly find areas and obstacles where you can hide behind. And this means you can literally just sneak around with this tank and play it like a sniper tank. Like a British Stuck basically. But unlike the Stuck, you also have a machine gun. Yeah? And unlike the Stuck, this is a real tank because it has a real turret. You can turn it around. You can shoot to the backside if you want. Yeah, everything is amazing. And it has some sloped armor effect, so it's not even easily killable. This thing is absolutely fun to play. I started playing it literally yesterday for 2-3 games, and it completely overperformed. So yeah, this is absolutely amazing, absolutely strong. Just try it out, you're gonna shred all the enemies. If I have to choose, do I want to play this or the German tanks? For power playing, this is just amazing, and it's a gem that the other nations don't really have access to. When it comes to planes, my recommendation is the P-33G. Now there are some other planes that can also be played. The only competition this plane really has is the Dauntless, because the Dauntless has some absolutely brain-dead, overpowered bomb load. It has a 500 kilogram bomb and 2 little bombs and 2 machine guns, 2 heavy machine guns on the front and 2 nice machine guns in the backside. Yeah, like this heavy bomb is just the main reason to play this. Only downside is it's very slow. It's extremely slow. And as I said, all the intelligent enemies are going to be able to deal with this. So you won't survive for too long with this. But as a plane, by the way, if you're a new player and you're not good at flying, slow planes are actually an advantage. You're going to be shot down very often, but they're easier to control. So this isn't even much of a downside for new players. In the beginning, when I learned flying, basically exactly 1 year ago, I also only played the easiest to fly planes, also the best way to learn flying. And I didn't mind using this, especially since the bomb blows up everything. But if you're already better at flying, there's a clear winner, and it's the P-33G, and here's the reason. It has insane speed, one of the fastest planes in the game. For low BR, it's absolutely insanely fast. It's so fast that I actually sometimes slow it down. Usually whenever the situation allows it, fly at maximum speed. But this thing is actually so slow, you need to slow it down sometimes. It brings, this is the first advantage. Second advantage, it brings a 20mm cannon with enough ammunition to shoot down 1 or 2 planes and kill a bunch of dudes on the ground and shred enemy tanks. And it has 4 heavy machine guns with 500 bullets each, so you literally never run out of ammunition. And here's the deal. Normal machine guns, so 8mm and below, are okay, but they're literally very weak, because if you're in a plane, you're gonna shoot at targets far away. This means the damage you deal is basically nothing. And if you want to penetrate enemy planes, it's like tickling. You can literally shoot at the plane for 30 seconds with a normal machine gun and it still will survive. But heavy machine guns, they shred everything. If you shoot it long enough, if you get good hits. And autocannons, they just 1 or 2 hit enemy planes. Also, they're quite good on the ground since they also run at area infantry. And the best thing is, since we are once again on low BR, you can also just shred tanks on the ground. Most tanks will be, well, I would say half of the tanks will die. They're just going to explode from your cannon. The other tanks are going to survive because they're going to have enough armor even on the top. But here comes the thing. If you shoot, especially on the back side of the tank, basically every tank will get some damage into its engine, into its fuel area and start burning. And what I constantly see, if I strafe tanks, I either kill them instantly or I get a bunch of hit markers and 10 to 20 seconds later I get a constant white pulsing hit marker showing that the tank started burning, and 10 to 20 seconds later after that the tank explodes. So these autocannons are absolutely amazing, and the fact that you get all of this together perfectly centered at your nose, meaning aiming is easy and you won't waste ammunition, because if you have your machine guns and cannons on the wings, most of the time only one will hit, not both, or though the joke is very often not a single one will hit because you're literally missing the target perfectly. But having everything on the nose is the best thing you can wish for. And on top of this, you get 6 M8 rockets. Now these are basically the weakest rockets in the game, but still, they do the work. Against infantry they're amazing, they kill everything. The only downside they have is against tanks you need a perfect hit, but due to the rockets being under the nose, this is the plane to get the easiest hits with your rockets. And on low BR, the M8 rockets also do wonderful work against tanks. So yeah, overall this is by far the strongest tank and the strongest plane you can play as Americans on low BR, and it is possibly also the strongest plane overall on low BR. I definitely would pick this over all the other planes. Ironically enough, I don't even play planes for Japanese because they're so bad. But this thing is ridiculous. And if you want to have the biggest ridiculous advantage, if you're playing low BR Americans against Japanese, if they do the mistake of picking one of their planes, they will start from carriers. But American planes, if they're not specific carrier starting planes, they will start in the air. So you don't have the annoying hassle to to do a takeoff, you literally start in the air, giving you an advantage of around 10 seconds. So yes, this is everything you can wish for in a plane. If you only have one vehicle squad available, I recommend to play the plane if you're good with planes, because this plane is just very strong. It's overall also stronger than the Crusader, but if you're not good with them, the Crusader is also fine. Regarding the infantry squads, we obviously of course want our APC, once again the most important thing. Also very fast APC for the Americans. And then also, as for the Germans, the machine gunner squad, mainly for the HMG and to the general utility the machine gunner squad brings. The sad part is that American machine guns aren't that good because they have usually horrible sights. Yeah, they have horrible sights. For example, here we literally have to aim to the left and our whole screen is covered by the stupid magazine. Yeah, thank you, British design. And here, oh, once again, same bullshit. Yes. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And this is even an event machine gun. Like, if it wasn't for this one, I would have to play two of these, and it's just getting ridiculous. And this is also why you want to play high BR Americans from time to time, because then you can play proper machine guns like this marble. But yeah, like low BR doesn't treat you well when it comes to American machine guns. But it treats you very well when it comes to SMGs, because here we get something very fancy. Everyone can name weapons that are overrated, but there are not that many weapons that are underrated. And the Americans have one of the most underrated weapons in the game, and it's the grease gun. Yeah, it doesn't say grease gun, but this is the grease gun. And here's the deal for those who don't know the secret yet. Normal machine gun SMGs, normal SMGs like the Sten, have very low damage. Yeah, this is the standard 6.6 and 3.3. By the way, some SMGs even start with 2.8 on 100 meters, and you have to upgrade up to 3.3. 3.3 is a problem because you have to hit 4 times to reach the threshold of 10 damage to kill an enemy soldier. This isn't that good, yeah, especially due to spray and so on. Also, if the enemy has a better weapon that can one-shot you, he can actually survive the time it takes you to shoot him 4 times. He's just gonna shoot you back, yeah? If he shoots you back, you're dead. So this is a problem. But the grease gun solves this problem by having basically assault rifle damage. This is literally assault rifle damage, almost. And here's the deal. On short range, 2 hits kill everything in the game. There's no way to survive 2 hits. A good headshot kills also everyone. A shot in the neck kills everyone. And injured soldiers will also die. So on short range, this is a pure monster. On mid range, it's also a monster because you still only need 2 hits. And this is the big trick this weapon gives you. Unlike all the other SMGs on low BR, this can kill with 2 hits on mid range. This is a big advantage. Combine this with a generous 33 magazine round and basically no recoil. Yeah? Everything that's 20 or around 20 vertical and around 10 horizontal is as good as no recoil, especially if you have recoil control on your soldiers. This means you can spray this is one of the few SMGs in the game where I literally just aim for the head. And since I basically don't have any recoil while spraying, I can just perfectly, if I see an enemy group, just aim around all of the heads and they all die. You can't do that with any other SMG on low BR. This is absolutely amazing. This is a really strong weapon. Only downside obviously is the low fire rate. This is also the reason why I want to play the second grease gun, because the first grease gun has just an even worse fire rate. But despite the low fire rate, this weapon still completely slaps. So yeah, you absolutely want to play this, and you're very happy to have this as an American, and you can give this to all the vehicle pilots too. They're gonna be also tankers. They're gonna be very happy. Also historically accurate that these dudes, the tankers, have grease guns. So yeah, really, really good. Yeah, machine gunners, a little bit sad to play them, but due to power level, you really want to play them. Though if you absolutely don't want to, you don't have to. But SMG squad, the assaulters, absolute big plus for the Americans. For the remaining squads, it's the same as for the Germans. I recommend an engineer squad and a rifleman squad. And here's the little fancy thing for the Americans. They have one of the best bolties on low BR2, because this Marine Corps Springfield, famously used in the beginning of the Pacific campaign, not only gives you some cool historical accuracy points, but also it has one of the best sights in the game. These sights are almost exactly the same sights as the Kar-98K. And for the vast majority of our players, these are absolutely comfy to use, very quickly, easy on the eyes sights. And you of course also get a bayonet and basically the same fire rate as the Kar-98K. So yeah, this is literally basically the American Kar-98K. Absolutely worth it, high damage, good stats, and a perfect standard rifle. But this isn't where the magic ends, because you can do something that the Germans cannot do. You can actually play a viable semi-auto. You can play the M1 carbine. M1 carbine doesn't have the high damage that normal semi-autos have, but it has a very low recoil, so you can easily spray it. You can just click quickly on your enemies. You have 15 bullets, which is good, really good for a semi-auto. And yeah, that's the magic. You have 15 bullets. Unlike normal semi-autos, you can clear out a whole enemy squad, and you don't even have to aim perfectly. You just spray into their bodies and 2 shots are going to kill them. And if you're good at aiming and if you're patient, you can actually also, as with the grease gun, go for headshots. Because this thing is also quite easy to control. And here's the best thing. Depending on your distance, like this average American rifleman is much stronger than the average German rifleman. Also historically accurate. In real life, the Americans had advantages with their Garands. And in Enlisted, if you play this configuration, you're going to have advantages due to the fact that on longer distances, you're going to have your trusty bolt-action rifle, giving you an advantage over all other weapon types. On short and medium distance, well, you can just switch to your M1 carbine. On medium distance, depending on how good you are and how many enemies you have, bolt-action still will be better. But on short range, the M1 carbine against groups of enemies is insane. So these American riflemen, they don't fear groups of enemies, because they have perfect weapons for every situation. This is insane. And the best thing is, your bots are going to be even better. Because your bots can choose from which weapon type they want to play, and which is the best for the situation, since they are coded to automatically use the best weapon for the situation and for the target distance. So yeah, these are going to be absolutely deadly bots. Yeah? Absolutely deadly bots, and they also have insane amounts of ammunition. They never run out of bullets. So yeah, really easy to build, and it's absolutely comfortable to play this configuration. And engineers, well, you can put on them what you want. I recommend Springfield bolties, but you can also give them the M1 carbines if you want, and be very happy about your really unique American weaponry. As our third most popular faction, we have the Soviets, and as you can see from the fact that everything's blinking, I haven't played them that much, but they're quite easy to build, because they're also a really good reflection of their strengths in real life, mainly tank power. Now, the Germans had much better trained and significantly better organized, thanks to radios in every tank forces in the beginning of 1941, but the Soviets had in many cases just the stronger tanks. They had many bad tanks, but they also had the occasional T-50 and the KV-1, and these were complete monsters against the much weaker overall, tinier German tanks. And you can use this to your advantage. And here's how you do it. If you like tanks, and if you have 2 vehicle slots, just spam 2 tanks. The Soviets also have an insanely good plane, but yeah, like the tank power is definitely where the main power lies. And here's my recommendation. If you want an easy to play tank that has insane firepower, get yourself the T-28. Now this tank in real life looks even taller than it looks here, because it was quite high. A normal man would stand up to this point. So it's like as high as 1.5 men. It's humongous. It has 6 crew member slots, and it has 3 towers. Yeah, so this is a late 20s, early 30s design of tank engineering with the 3 towers, of the multiple towers. And in game, it features the following advantage. It has a 76mm cannon. Yes, this means not a single enemy infantry soldier is going to survive when you shoot at him. Also means that it's very, very strong against German tanks because, well, once again, they're not that well armored. They're well armored against normal tanks, but not against this completely unfair, big, strong cannon. Also better than the Crusader cannon. But that's not even the best power effect. The strongest factor about this cannon is that it has some anti-tank piercing high explosive shells. This means you can use your high explosive shells against tanks basically as good as against infantry. So as you always want to have your high explosive shells in your barrel. So no matter which target you have in front of you, you always have optimal performance. And on especially low BR, where pure penetration armor, pure penetration shells can be over-penetrating 2 weakly armored enemy tanks and deal very little damage, the high explosive shells will basically always blow up the tanks, no matter how weak or strong it is. So this tank is literally the one-click monster of low BR. Every single enemy tank is gonna die from one shot. This literally is brain dead as it gets, but in a good way because it's deserved. Like this gigantic Colossus absolutely deserves its big firepower. And if this isn't enough for you, you have 3 machine guns. And you can see them here, here, here. One in every single turret or tower as it was called. And you see them actually firing. Because when you use the machine guns, you see 3 beams of fire being emitted out of your tank. And this means that, yes, while you're reloading your cannon, which is going to be very fast thanks to 6 crew members, also giving you redundant crew members in case someone dies, so you will always have a fast reload speed, you're just going to shred everything on the ground with your machine guns. This is also even good against enemy planes flying low, because it's quite easy to hit with 3 beams of machine gun fire. So yeah, this tank is insane. Only disadvantage is it's slow, and it's big, so it's very easy to kill from the side. From the front, though, it's surprisingly tanky. Yeah, it is also, if the enemy starts shooting the single towers, it doesn't matter because one soldier dies, but the tank's still alive and the cannon's still alive. So most people don't even know where to actually shoot this thing to take it out in one shot. So yeah, this thing is insane. This thing is absolutely strong and very fun to play. Second recommendation is the T50. This thing is, if the T28 wasn't available for the Soviet overpowered tank slot, I would call this the overpowered Soviet tank, because even though looking very unremarkable, it's very exceptional. Here's the deal. If you compare it to a Panther, which is the best comparison, you're gonna find the following features. This is a very fast tank, very mobile. It's quite small, so it's not that easy to hit. And it has really good armor, like 45 millimeters from the front, and especially 40 on the sides is insanely thick. And it's sloped. From the front, it's almost impossible to penetrate. From the front, you literally have to hit around this area, which is a weak spot, to penetrate. But if you hit anything else, especially if you hit the turret, you won't deal any damage. And from the side, the biggest mistake people do is hitting this sloped area, because this literally is impenetrable by low BR tanks. So yeah, unless you hit the weak spots, which are the track areas or this little area, you cannot kill this thing. So it survives a lot. It's extremely tanky, and it has a good cannon. It's out of the cannons I showed so far overall the weakest, but it's only because I literally showed you the strongest tanks that are in the game. So compared to any other tanks, especially if you play against players who have lower ranked tanks, this will be the king on the battlefield. And the cannon has very fast fire reload rate. Very fast. And this is one of the fastest reloading cannons in the game. well, similar as with the Panzer IIIN, you're gonna have a very easy life playing this. So you can outflank all the enemies, you can angle your armor relative to the enemy, so it's impossible for them to kill you. And if the enemy misses a shot, well, or if he hits you, since he won't penetrate you, in the same time you can shoot twice back. And if the enemy for some reason has a very strong tank, very well armored, well, just drive around since you're so fast. You don't have to fear being shot into the side because you have lots of sloped armor, and you can shoot him from the side into the side. So yeah, this tank is insanely good. And if you want to go full nerd, just research a bit on the internet how to perfectly angle it against different type of tanks, and you will be even a complete menace, because playing this tank to its fullest potential is actually giving you one of the biggest edges in the game. For those thinking now, oh no, that's too much Soviet bias, please stop with the Soviet bias. Nope, the Soviet bias train never stops. Because next we have a plane that's, yes, it's a Lend-Leased American plane. And I'm going to show you this plane and then the alternative plane, the Soviet plane, which is also ridiculously strong. This plane is, well, absolutely strong. You can also play it, by the way, as an American. And I haven't even unlocked it yet as an American, but I have it for the Soviets and I used it, and here's the deal. The games that I played as battle rating 5, basically a mixed army since I don't have much high level Soviet stuff, I just played this plane since I don't have the good Soviet planes, and it literally is good enough for battle rating 5 games. This battle rating 2 plane, once again, is good enough for battle rating 5 games, because the heavy bomb is going to kill every single Soviet tank. Every single German tank. It even kills King Tigers. Every single time I saw an enemy King Tiger, I whipped out this plane, and 30 seconds later he was dead. Yes, it's insanely good. On top of that, you get good speed, very good maneuverability. For those who don't know, best turn rate, if it's around 15 or lower, it's good. And if it's around 10, it's extremely good. Yeah. If it's 16, it's also good. If it's 17, 18, it's okay enough, but not that good. Literally every single second on this parameter changes the overall quality. But yeah, 15.5 is really good, especially for such a fast plane. The climb rate is also good. And on top of that, you get 6 heavy machine guns. Yes, this is a typical American design with 3 heavy machine guns on each wing. This means you're gonna kill all the enemy planes. Since you're very fast, they can't just fly away from you. And you can kill all the ground targets. This is one of the unfair planes, since it gives you everything you can wish for in a plane. There's not a single downside. Absolutely no downsides. Yeah, absolutely strong. There's literally no downside involved. And the alternative would be a plane that's... Yep. Well, there are actually a bunch of alternatives. Because you can, if you like rockets, play the IL-2 1941. This comes with 2 autocannons, 2 normal machine guns, 4 little bombs and 8 rockets. For me personally, it's too much clicking, because depending on how you approach, if you have to focus on what you do exactly, this can be overwhelming and you just miss the perfect moment. Also, it's quite slow, but it's very maneuverable and also very tanky. So this is the easiest plane to fly for the Soviets, and has also insane firepower if you can aim with the rockets and bombs together. My pick, though, for the easiest superpower plane for the Soviets is the Su-2, because, well, it's straightforward. It has enough speed. It has good maneuverability, though in-game maneuverability is worse than it looks like here. And it has 6 100 kilogram bombs. The 100 kilogram bombs literally only suffer against a King Tiger, because you need a very perfect hit. Though it's quite easy to get a perfect hit with 6 bombs. Literally every other tank in the game just dies. You just spray the 6 bombs around him, he's gonna die. And if you're very precise, you can spray a bunch, or you can spray 2 of them on the Tiger or on the enemy tank, and the remaining 4 around the infantry, and you're gonna blow up the whole battlefield. So yeah, this is insanely good. Yeah, this is insanely good. If the American plane wasn't there, this would be the best plane for the Soviets. But yeah, the Soviets are completely spoiled when it comes to overpowered vehicles. They have one overpowered vehicle after the other. So what about the infantry? Well, of course you want your APC. And, well, since it's a Gaijin game, there's no stopping the Soviets when it comes to infantry too, because they get one of the best, possibly their best. It's actually their best SMG on low BR. They get the PPS 43. And it's very simple if you compare it to the well, to the grease gun. Obviously grease gun is a damage specialist, very slow but high damage. This thing has, well, it's the opposite. It's slow damage, basically the lowest an SMG can get, but very high fire rate. This is basically an insanely high fire rate for low BR, mixed with very controllable recoil. Keep in mind these are unupgraded stats. Well, let's upgrade it though, so we can take a look at them, and we see, woohoo, we get the very respectable. Oh, look at this! This is the fancy Soviet bias I wanted to show you with this magic trick. Unlike other weapons where we get 3.3 damage, here we get 3.4 damage. Now, if you get 3 hits on your enemies, you're gonna reach a threshold of 10 damage. So yes, this is significantly better than most SMGs because you actually only need 3 hits on mid range. This makes it ridiculous. The fact that you actually have 800 fire rate now makes it even more ridiculous because you're very likely to get 3 hits, and you also have very low recoil. 10 horizontal recoil is basically nothing, and 30 vertical recoil also very good, since yeah, you just give your soldier vertical recoil reduction minus 40%, and your life's gonna be easy. So yeah, this is really good. This is the overall best SMG on low BR because it doesn't have any disadvantages. It has the best fire rate, very big magazine size. By the way, if it had 40 bullets, it would have been put into BR3, because then it would be, this thing is already better than most German SMGs on BR3, by the way. That's why many people are bitching for it to be up-tiered to BR3, but the problem is the Soviets have so many overpowered SMGs. This is literally the weakest you can give them. Yeah, so like this is literally like, yeah, you can't put it into BR3. It has to be BR2. Yeah, this is the Soviet bias in action, by the way. But yeah, you're gonna profit from it if you play Soviets. By the way, all of the Soviet bias is actually counterbalanced by the fact that the Soviet player base is by far the worst in the game. By far. And yes, trust me, I've played Soviets. It's literally a horrible experience. So I don't even care about upgrading or even perking up my soldiers because I don't really like playing Soviets. Though if I want to have fun, I just play these tanks. They are really fun and fly around on the plane. And yeah, you can enjoy the Soviet bias by blowing up everything in the game. Then, well, so this means you absolutely want to have a assaulter squad, obviously, since this is where the biggest firepower is. Also machine gunner squad because, oh, guess what, even more Soviet bias, because the Soviets also get the best HMG in the game, the Dishka. Now what makes it so good? Insanely good precision, very good fire rate, very good sights, and possibly the biggest angle in which you can sway it around. And it's very easy to hit planes with it, making it also the best anti-air gun in the game. Yes, it's literally as if Soviet bias was not even enough. The Soviets only get advantages. And if they don't get their own good things, they're gonna get American bias because they also get the Winchester. Now, straight out of the 19th century, you get a lever action weapon. In real life, lever actions have the disadvantage of being, well, they take lots of work. They're quite complicated to build. They break down easily, and if you have an army with a couple thousand soldiers and they all have lever actions, you constantly have to have additional rifles because you will have to exchange them constantly. For bolt actions, it's not that problematic. Also in real life, lever action systems only allow for quite weak ammunition. Though not an Enlisted, because this lever action weapon deals more damage than most bolt actions with superior shells, superior bullets. So yeah, this is, yeah, you literally have all the theoretical advantages, meaning the extremely high fire rate, also very high precision, without the disadvantages from real life, meaning, well, you don't have reduced damage. So yeah, this thing is very fun to use, very fast. Sights are quite good for some people, for others for me it's personally mediocre sights, for some people it's good sights. If you like the sights, this weapon is a no-brainer, by far the best bolt action for the Soviets. It's so fast, it's basically a semi-auto. Yeah, it's just also clear Soviet bias that they have it. Yes, regarding the machine guns, well, the only downside that the Soviets have, they got this machine gun. Though keep in mind, it's even better than the American or British one, because even though it also has this ugly ass magazine that hides away half of your screen, you can at least aim for the center. Yeah, so, and the barrel looks cool. So yes, you don't have to suffer as much as with the Americans playing Soviet machine gunners. And since we have so much Soviet bias in the vehicles, we don't even need to play another squad of infantry, because that would be already overpowered as hell. Now, we have to play one more, we don't have to play two more. So which one are you going to play? You could do the trick with the rifleman squad, though it's literally not necessary. Like, the Soviets have so much actually quality, they don't need the quantity, ironically enough. And you can do something fancy. You can play the anti-tank gunner squad, because they have a very good anti-tank gun that you can build with the squad. And here's the most important thing, their anti-tank rifle is the second best in the game. The only better one is the Japanese Type 97, and this thing is so good, it's literally one of the best weapons overall in the game, so there's no beating it. So this second place is already very strong. And here's the reason. Whereas the Americans get bullshit like the Piet or a bazooka that can't penetrate paper, or the Germans get weapons that are either historically inaccurate, completely nerfed down, like the Panzerbüchsen, or the ridiculously bugged GRB. By the way, double nerfed and bugged. Or the Sturm pistol, which also disappoints on long range. The Soviets get, as I said, one of the best, the second best anti-tank rifle in the whole game, simply due to the fact that it is semi-auto. Semi-auto means you can spray your bullets. Spraying bullets that can shred a tank out of a 5 magazine, out of a 5 round magazine is insanely strong. Yeah? I recommend watch the shorts are uploaded with anti-tank rifles. These things are a pure bliss to play. They're not only very strong, this one's actually overpowered. It can shred almost every tank you're gonna encounter on basically any distance, because you have more than enough penetration for most tanks on mid to even super long range. If you can't shred a tank instantly, just shoot him in the tracks, meaning he's gonna spin if he's still driving, exposing your sight towards you, and then you can one-shot it or just couple-shot it. You have enough ammunition, you're very fast anyway. Once you quickly sprayed your 5 bullets, you can reload in a very good amount of time. The German weapons require you to reload for that amount of time after every single shot. And you can see how ridiculously weak the German ones are regarding that comparison. And you can use this literally as a semi-auto rifle. Semi-auto rifle, that would be at least BR3, because, yeah, unlike normal semi-autos, this can literally, yeah, one shot on any distance. Look at the damage. This thing deals more damage than some tanks do with their cannon. And you can penetrate everything, any soldier behind cover. And you can blow up anti-tank guns, anti-air guns, machine gun nests from far away. Yeah, there's literally, you can shoot down sandbags from far away. All the fun stuff. So yeah, this thing is ridiculous, absolutely overpowered, and absolutely fun to play. And for that reason, I absolutely recommend to play this anti-tank gunner squad, so you have access to 3 of them. Yeah? Not even necessarily for tank hunting. These are literally like an overpowered rifleman infantry squad, because yeah, you can play them like like semi-auto rifles, also mixed together with the Winchester, so they don't have any weaknesses left. And for the end, you can pledge eternal loyalty to the Emperor, because we're gonna take a look at the most unique army and faction in Enlisted, low BR, the Japanese. As we found out, there's not too much difference between the Americans and the Germans. Well, there's enough, but they still look quite the same. Even the squad distribution was the same. The Soviets, though, thanks to an extreme amount of Soviet bias and many overpowered weapons, could be built in a very different way. But the Soviets are even more different from the average German-American army, because they offer a bunch of weaknesses but also a bunch of upsides. And even though they're the newest faction in the game and overall have the weakest equipment, they have some very spicy, very strong items. First of all, the most important thing to know about Japanese is that they have many fails, many traps, and you absolutely want to play the strongest things, because if you don't do that, you're gonna end up with ridiculously weak, underpowered equipment compared to the Americans. So knowing this army well is absolutely important. First of all, regarding the tanks, well, yes. As many of you might know, the tanks suck. They are really bad, because you either get a weak cannon and weak armament, so no advantage at all, or you get a slightly more useful cannon but stupid downsides and still ridiculously bad armament. So yes, so the only actually useful tank for the Japanese, making it, by the way, easy, because there's no picking and choosing, there's literally only one playable. One is the Hoi. Now this thing has some really cool, beautiful green coating, by the way, and it has the typical horribly bad Japanese machine gun, because for some reason the Japanese thought that 20 round magazines for machine guns are somehow useful. That's the first problem. Also the reload speed is quite, yeah. Well, the reload speed is quite fast, but you have to reload constantly. And it overheats, so yes, it's completely stupid. But it's the only Japanese tank that actually gets a viable cannon. Like the 75mm shreds infantry, and it's long enough to shred weak Japanese tanks too. So this is actually good. And if you look at the armament, it's basically the same as Panzer IIIN. And it's really good armament, yeah, especially from the front. This is completely unique for the Japanese. This just doesn't exist. All the other tanks completely suck. Though, you could, if you want, play the anti-air gun tank that's a beginner tank, or some other tanks as a mix, but once again, this is the only tank that's actually somehow viable. Now, for those of you who got themselves the floating tank squad, yes, this thing looks like a little house on wheels, and it can float on water. And here's the trick with it. It is, from the front, very well armored. That's right, the hull 50mm, the turret 50mm, but come on, how often do you think you're going to be perfectly angled? Exactly, since you're so huge, you can't be perfectly angled towards the whole area of enemies, so there always will be enemies who can shoot you into the side, unless you are camping from far away on the water. But if you're camping too far away, your cannon won't be that strong anymore. It can penetrate weak enemy tanks, but that's it. Yeah, like the high explosive shells are also good enough, obviously. But yeah, so the firepower isn't that good. The armament isn't that good either. I've literally killed this tank with everything you can imagine. Like HMGs easily shredded from the side. Like there's no surviving. Also, which genius placed the machine gun nest facing exactly facing the other turret? Well, obviously, if you turn this turret, you can hit something. But yeah, this is just strange. But here's the deal, it brings you the biggest crew size in the whole game for tanks. It brings 7 crew members. 7 crew members means this is literally assault squad size, with literally assaulter weapons. But since we're in the Pacific and we have a bunch of maps with island parts and stuff like that, you can spawn this thing and swim over the water, well, you're very big, so it's hard to hide on the open ocean. But if you do it intelligently, or if the map allows it, you can actually sneak in back into the enemy gray zone and just be be very problematic to the enemy backlines. So yeah, this is a little gem that many people actually forgot about. I also forgot about it. I literally only found it and remembered it once I was forced to search for anything to put in for the second vehicle slot. Now, why don't we play planes though? Very simple. Compared to the American planes, the Japanese low-tier planes suck extremely hard. They suck extremely hard. This is, ironically enough, the only one that's somehow viable. Like, the weapons look amazing. Heavy bomb, amazing. 2 little bombs, okay. And then we only get normal machine guns. That's not good. On the ground, you barely will kill anything with normal machine guns. And the American planes are also well armored. And when it comes to dogfighting, you're gonna be shredded instantly by the American planes. But this isn't the only downside. You also have an extremely slow plane. Very maneuverable, but extremely slow. This thing, as long as the enemy doesn't do anything against you, is very good, but come on, it will never happen. So this is the big problem of the Japanese planes and the whole Japanese vehicles. They are good if you're invading some defenseless third world countries relative to the technology of the 40s, 1940s or 30s. But if you're fighting against actually viable enemies, all of this is just underpowered. It doesn't work, except for the Hoya, obviously. But this isn't even the worst thing about the Japanese planes. The worst thing is they start from carriers. American planes, almost all of them don't start from carriers, and the ones who do, you don't want to play. So Americans will always have an advantage, and you will be annoyed as fuck because you have to start from the carrier. So yes, like, it's just not recommendable to play the planes for lobby Japanese. And literally the only plane I would actually recommend to play is this new plane, because it brings 2 okay bombs, like 2 good bombs, 2 really good autocannons with 200 bullets each, 2 heavy machine guns with 250 bullets each, good maneuverability, and very high speed. This thing shreds everything. Yeah, if you know where to aim and if you're good with your bombs, you even shred jumbos. So this thing shreds all the American planes and all the American tanks. And it starts in the air. It's the only basically Japanese plane that starts in the air. This thing here though, although they look very beautiful, are sadly a complete trap and are just gonna cost you a lot of nerves and lots of games if you play them. So what are we gonna play instead? Well, we're gonna play more infantry. Of course, we are obviously gonna play the very cool looking, very funny looking Japanese APC. And now comes the actual good stuff, because right now we basically only had a tolerably good tank and only bullshit. So what's the good stuff? Well, this here. The Japanese are the only army who don't need any snipers at all, because, as in real life, they had scoped machine guns. For those who wonder why didn't every nation do that, well, first of all, scopes, depending on the nation, were very expensive and hard to build. And B, try putting a scope on a machine gun and try to make it survive more than 1 second of shooting. Yes, like the Japanese found a way as the only nation in the world to build a scope that doesn't break after using your first magazine. So this is also, it's very heavy, very clumsy, but due to being a loyal imperial Japanese soldier, very loyal to your emperor, you're gonna of course carry all of this weight and you won't complain, so this isn't the downside. And here's how you use this thing. You can literally use it as a sniper rifle. Also one of the best semi-auto sniper rifles in the game, because you have 20 bullets, not 5 or 10, and you can full auto spray it. So this is basically the closest weapon that comes to a sniper FG42 too. Yes, if this thing had less recoil, it would be actually as good as a sniper FG42 too, which is one of the best weapons in the game. Yeah, this is, and you get it on BR2. And this is one of the few reasons to actually play Japanese when you want something that's strong, because yeah, besides that, everything is way weaker than the American equipment. But this thing is really good, and it's also very fun to play, because it's the only weapon in the game that has these advantages and these features. So this is amazing. Of course you want to dual wield, because 20 bullets are very quickly gone. And having to reload after 20 bullets, yes, you will die. But if you have 2 of those, you're actually gonna survive. Also, a general advantage for the Japanese, you can give a sword to everyone, which is also quite cheap. This means your nation is gonna be, every single soldier is gonna be ridiculously mobile. Every tanker that has to leave his tank will be very quickly on the action. You can literally just, if an enemy tank blows you up, if he's close enough, just run towards him and just blow him up in return. Yeah, same thing goes for this squad. If you absolutely want to play paratroopers or stuff like pilots jumping out of planes, having a sword on them is also very nice. But having swords on engineers even the best thing, because yes, engineers who can fast rush points to build rallies, fast rush towards the next objective, are absolutely crucial, absolutely strong. And yes, swords, absolutely good. Amazing specialty of the Japanese. Also extremely fun to use as a melee weapon, and really useful, by the way, because they give you the fastest charge speed that you can get in the game. So we want our machine gunner squad. Sadly, the Japanese get the weakest HMG that comes with the machine gunner squad, but it doesn't matter, because this machine gunner squad itself is the strongest overall in the game for low BR. So yeah, we are very happy to take it. Next, well, next comes the question. I recommend the engineer squad, because the Japanese SMGs aren't that good. The problem is, on high BR you actually get some good things. Well, you get one good thing, but on low BR you get only mediocre things. Now the MP28, imported from Europe obviously, is okay. It has a good fire rate. By the way, this isn't even an upgrade, because I can't upgrade it yet. It has low recoil, it has a good fire rate, it has low damage, but it's okay. And it has a humongous magazine size. So yeah, this is good, especially if you're not that good at aiming, or if you just want to enjoy the game without having to think much. Just spraying this is fun. So yeah, this is strong enough. And overall it's it's quite good. Yeah. It's overall the worst of the machine guns from the nations. It's worse than an MP40. It's worse than a grease gun if the grease gunner has good aim. And it's obviously worse than the overpowered Soviet SMG. But still, it's good. You also get this thing. Now, this thing has literally as close to zero recoil as it gets. But it also has enough damage to kill enemies with 3 hits. And if you aim for the head with this fire rate and the low recoil, you're gonna actually do some really good damage. And if you like slow auto mode, which is not really good, because it already isn't too fast. Yes, like this thing is good. Learning how to spray with it and aim for heads actually turns this almost into a grease gun. So yeah, almost still. Actually, it's easier even, because the fire rate when it comes to damage almost creates the same damage output as a grease gun. So you could look at it as a Japanese grease gun. But once again, higher fire rate with lower damage is only the same as low fire rate and higher damage when every single bullet hits. But this is rarely the case. So yes, it's not about the expected value of damage. It's literally about the easier it is to hit a bullet, or the less bullets you need to hit the enemy, the better. And this thing requires you still to hit 3 times. So yeah, grease gun is better. But this is okay, this is also okay. Yeah, so we see that the Japanese SMGs are just okay, they're not that good. Keep in mind, this thing was buffed 3 times, with 3 patches. It used to be extremely bad. It used to be absolutely horrible bad. So horribly bad that it was a complete joke. And the American equivalent was a Thompson. So yeah, guess what? That's just horrible. So the SMGs are not that good, but they are, well, still okay. Yeah, they're still okay, and the other Japanese weapons, besides the machine guns, are also not that good. Yeah, so you see the reason why the Japanese are the weakest faction. The vehicles are lacking hard, and this, except for some few exceptions, the weapons also lack hard. There's a general advantage when it comes to assaulters, because if you have access to Assaulter 4, you can amass so many perk points that the Assaulter 4 soldiers are just ridiculously good. Yeah, for example, you can give them so many perk reductions that well, wait, this is a very badly perked one, I guess. Yeah, that's a no, that's a normal. Sorry, that's a normal one. Well, they have their points spread out very nicely. You can make them survivable. You can make them very precise bots. You can give them recoil reduction. You can give them, of course, vitality. You can give them fast aim. Depending on your playstyle, fast running or fast aim is the better thing. I recently started trying out fast aim due to me constantly charging, so I don't really need the fast running though. But if you don't want to hassle around with the fast charging constantly, the fast running is much better, obviously. Yeah, like the assaulters bring advantages themselves. And for the Japanese, the truth is that their weapons are so bad that you don't really have many alternatives. They have their new Type 99 early rifle, which is quite good. Well, once again, relative to the other Japanese equipment, it's still slow as fuck. The damage isn't that good. It only a 5-round magazine size, but it has possibly the longest reach of all weapons in the game when it comes to melee range. And yes, like, it's okay. It has good sights. Yeah, the sights are an upside. But yeah, I literally can't say that many good things about the Japanese, which is very sad. Though I can say one good thing, and it's the, as I already implied before, the best anti-tank rifle in the game. And here's the deal. If you don't want to hassle around, it's actually, you can do the same thing as with the Soviets. You can just play an anti-tank on a squad and use them as normal riflemen. For example, this rifleman squad, I'm only playing to level up the riflemen, which I knew. Afterwards, I'm gonna kick them out and just play an anti-tank on a squad, as I do with the Soviets. Because here's the best thing about the Japanese next to the machine gun. This anti-tank rifle is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insanely strong. Everything good about the PTRS-41 is also implemented here, but it's much better. First of all, we have the same semi-auto fire rate, fire modus, but we have 40% more bullets. We have 7-round magazines instead of 5. This literally means no tank can survive you spraying it for 2-3 seconds. Yeah, no American tank survives it. This thing can even hunt jumbos if you know where to aim. Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And on low BR you shred everything. It's so precise that you can shoot down every plane. Yes, plane, not tank, plane too. If you know how to aim, you can shoot down bomber raids. It's literally always the same distance. You just look straight up and aim at the same distance. If you get a good feeling for it, you can reliably shoot down bomber raids with it, which is gonna give you lots of cheater accusations. But it's actually a skill. I don't know how to do it myself. I can I can shoot down 1 due to luck. And sometimes I can shoot down 2, but I still don't know really how to aim to shoot down all of them. But if you learn it, you can literally do it constantly, which makes it ridiculously overpowered. By the way, easy 2000 experience points if you manage to do that. Absolutely insane. And once again, since we have only bad weapons for the Japanese, congratulations, you get the best SMG, best semi-auto now. You can use this against soldiers too and all of the other things. So yeah, you absolutely want to play this thing on as many soldiers as possible, and therefore also an anti-tank gunner squad. Now for the normal rifleman, you also get a little specialty, because As you can see, I never played it before, so I can't even upgrade it yet. You can play a semi-auto, which is rare. Not every nation can play semi-autos on BR2. So you know it must be quite weak, but keep in mind, there's always an advantage. Oh, I don't know if you heard the explosion. There's always an advantage of having a mix of bolt action and semi-auto on your rifleman, as I already explained, for the Americans. And here we get, unlike the M1 carbine, a normal semi-auto, meaning you get the normal high damage. And once you upgrade it, you get above 10 damage on mid-range, so you can actually one-shot soldiers with one hit on basically like on 70-80% in all encounters. And it has a good fire rate, normal 5 magazine round, and extreme advantage, very low recoil. You won't find any semi-auto rifles with that low recoil. It's insane. Like, this thing is actually a secret pick for the Japanese. It's very underrated. The sights are okay. Sadly though, the next best thing, the Type Otsu rifle, is very similar. It's very similar stats. Well, it has a worse... Another explosion. Yeah, it's New Year. It has more recoil, but it has some of the best sights in the game. These sights are actually very nice to play. Also very fast. Yeah, we don't have the luxury, but yeah, I'm very happy to play Japanese infantry riflemen with this combination because it makes them very strong and also very fun to play. Alright, that's it. Now you know how to build very strong and fun combinations for every single nation. And here's the trick. Many people copy the same squad multiple times in their lineup. I recommend to not do it because A, this turns people into bad players because they literally get stuck in one play style. And yes, it works if you play like a Sweatlord in a 4-stack against normal people, but for those who want to really become good at the game, it literally keeps people low. It keeps them mid, even though they don't see it. And also it makes people extremely inflexible and unable to strategize. Because yeah, you can rush and you can monkey rush like Gopniks in Counter-Strike. You can rush B with your 3 assaulter squads, but you cannot outplay smart enemies who have a well-positioned tank. Or you can't deal with machine gun nests and stuff like that. So yeah, you really want to have a good mix of squads. Also, it's much more fun to play this way. For those who wonder why I haven't addressed the engineer squad, yeah, obviously due to the overall low firepower of the Japanese army, engineer squads are relatively stronger since you have all of the utility that they bring. Alright, let me know what you think, and if you have some cool ideas, and let's discuss in the comments. If you're new to the channel, obviously make sure you subscribe and like if you learned something, and share it with your nerd friends so everyone can start playing cool armies. Until next time, goodbye.